Hello, everybody, and welcome back to One Hub Racing. We are here for another talk show on a Sunday evening. Myself and Odems are in the box here to discuss Friday's races. Odems, USA, done and dusted. Can you believe we're already 25% done through season 13?
Yeah, I had to do a bit of a double take when I saw that, we only have 6 races left. It's like we're pretty much at the back end of the season already, and the season's just started, which is good for some, I suppose, since this game does leave a lot to desire. But yeah, almost there already.
Yeah, it feels like almost the amount of planning and work that went into the season for it to be 25% over. It doesn't feel quite justice, but good turnout again on Friday night for season 13 across all of our tiers, and some new race winners as well, which is always good to see. And yeah, so for those of you who don't know, talk show, myself and others will be discussing the four tiers that took place on Friday. As I said, round 2 in USA, and yeah, we'll have all the talking points and the off-track activity as well. Odems, with 4 tiers, it's extremely difficult to cram it into 30 minutes, but we will try our best. And because of that, it's going to be even more difficult to have some live interviews at some point in this season's talk shows.
Yeah, it will be. Last one went on for quite a while, which, you know, was, I wouldn't say surprising, but yeah, there was a lot to digest. First race back, and I won't be too surprised if there's even more to digest, as this was another crazy week of action at One Hub.
Alrighty, let's kick off with the podium tier. Josh, he missed last week. No one heard from him. He turned up. He's got championship in his friends. And did you know that it's let me get this right. It's Matt FMG, his girlfriend's brother. So there you
Wow.
go. That's who Josh is, and he took pole position and then went on to completely and utterly dominate in USA in what was horrific weather conditions.
Yeah, you did. A lot of the drivers were just thinking, "Wow, where's this guy come from?" I saw in chat he just wiped the floor with everyone, didn't he? Pretty
He,
comfortable win for him.
yeah, he literally did undercut, overcut, whatever anyone else tried. He just seemed to build a gap, and just at one point early in the race, he was just going fastest lap after fastest lap. And yeah, it just came a bit out of nowhere. So be interesting to see whether it was just track specific or weather specific. Either way, though, he's definitely going to be a championship contender, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it seems like every season we're always worried that we're gonna have another reflow, because as the podium tier is the lowest tier, there's obviously the biggest scope for improvement for the drivers, and it's not surprising to see one driver come out of nowhere and just gain pace all of a sudden. So yeah, a lot to be answered if this was just a one-time thing with Josh or whether or not he is the man to beat.
Yeah, I think you got it spot on there with the podium tier. That's why you generally always see the biggest gaps and things in qualifying, because it's obviously the tier where drivers are still learning and perhaps more mistakes are made. But as you say, there's more potential for improvement. But yeah, as we said, there's not really much to say on Josh's performance other than he absolutely dominated from start to finish. 2 wet races in the podium tier, not giving us the most exciting chance to kind of see how the two-stop works like it has been in other tiers, Odems.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the podium. One of the questions in the post race interview was, how was the two stop? Did you feel like you always knew what was going on? And one of the answers was, well, yeah, because it was wet, so there was only really one thing to do for everyone. It's a shame,
Interestingly,
but I think,
I was just going to say,
yeah,
interestingly, on that, the overcut seemed to work both races on the two-stop in the podium tier. Do you think that's like just the weather specific, or?
I think so, yeah. Because in the practice race it was also wet, and the overcut was I noticed the overcut was just better to do because you sort of I feel like when you leave the pits, you kind of have that in your head that you want to save your ERS, and a lot of the time that will actually slow you down compared to someone who's still on the lap who's just ready to burn their ERS. So I think that might have something to do with it. And also, yeah, just more in the zone with those tires. The overcut does help. Eventually, though, the newer tires will come into play. But yeah, in the wet, the overcut you'll find does come into effect.
All right, so there weren't too many talking points in the race, but one was Toro Rosso J. Parker. He finished in second. Obviously, a good pace last week, but didn't manage to finish. But this time out, he got his first podium, as did Aaron, who just missed out last week. So Aaron, I believe, is going to be leading the championship as they head into round 3. But yeah, nice to see some new names on the podium, Odems.
Yeah, Ianyan obviously not. I don't think he scored a point, did he? Ianyan
He
that
scored 1
week.
point. He
So
finished in 10th.
yeah, that one. I think he got that one on penalty. So yeah, compared to Aaron, he may not be as quick as Ianyan or the other guys, but he's up there. So that is interesting to see him take the lead in the drivers' championship, especially considering he had a drive-through in the first race. So I think he could be the dark horse, despite leading already. I think he could be looked at as a dark horse.
Yeah, I think if you can avoid having a poor result for the whole 8 races, whatever tier you're in, I think you're definitely going to be up there come the end of the race. One thing I was thinking about actually today was where the Constructors' Championship is across all 4 tier items. It's like 100% guaranteed almost to go down to the last race, considering how many points are actually up for grabs per round.
Yeah, 43 times 4, which I don't really want to bother doing the math. I think that's like 169, I want to say. So
72?
something crazy like that. So yeah, it is. It's unlikely, but there's a massive swing. That's what I was saying to my Red Bull teammates. Obviously, so since we're leading it, like it's looking comfortable right now. It is very comfortable, but we can't just take our foot off the gas because it's still all to play for, really.
Yeah, so Colin again missed out on the podium, finishes in 4th, Alls in 5th, Jamie in 6th, so another good result for Jamie. Gazza in 7th, but he was one of the drivers to suffer from that silly 10-second penalty coming into the pits, which hopefully again is one of the things they rectify for the next game. Tejwar in 8th, D Boydan in 9th, and as you mentioned, Ian rounded out the top 10. And actually, Ian's quickest lap time in the race wasn't that far off of Josh's. It was 4 tenths, which was the same gap that they had in qualifying. So, yeah, it's nice to see that, perhaps had Ian had a bit of a cleaner race, you never know, he might have been able to challenge.
Yeah, I think Toro Rosso would have definitely appreciated, hoped for Ian and Parker to both have a clean. It seems the pair of them just can't both put their week together. It's like one or the other is the one that does well. So Bahrain's next, so I think hopefully they can sort that out. I definitely see 1-2 potential in that team.
I could definitely see them being a couple of frustrated drivers come the end of the season, where you would have to say that they could possibly not win the Constructors' Championship, but actually finish with the most points for their team in
Yeah.
the podium tier. But of course, it's up to the other Toro Rosso drivers in the other 3 tiers. And it's nice to see when you're watching the streams or commentating, other drivers from other tiers actually cheering on their teammates.
Yeah, it is really nice to see, and that's exactly the effect that me and you wanted, wasn't it, when we were talking about
Yeah,
implementing this
exactly.
strategy, not strategy rather, implementing this new feature, because also Blizzard we all know is sort of a very methodical, clinical guy. It doesn't really talk much. The word sociopath may get thrown around, but even he is in is in our group chat for the Red Bull team, and he pipes in. We all talk to each other. We all give each other encouragement. We share setups, and it's nice bit of camaraderie.
Alrighty, on to the precision tier, and Kieran and Luke had again the pleasure of commentating on this one. Odin's 5 attempts cover the top 13 drivers. Again, the two-stop strategy, kind of pushing everyone to go on the quickest tire as quickly as they can. And this tier, Jesus, it's got to be the closest tier we've had in all our time at One Hub Racing. 5 attempts covering 13 drivers.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think Wesley did say he had a bit of time on the table, but it was very close between all the drivers. and I think the racing showed that as well. That every driver was in a different position at one point. It was a bit hectic.
Yeah, Pete did cross the line with a 30.8, but he was invalidated. So yeah, it's a 131.0 to a 131.5, and 13 drivers separated in that. Now, safety car in this one. We never mind a safety car, do we, audience, for particularly as spectators. And what was interesting was one of the things we talked about pre-season, whether it would happen if a safety car came out in the first couple laps. Would everyone just dive into the pits? It's exactly what happened.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there was like 3 people who stayed out, which made it about 14 or 15 people all inside the pit lane at the same time. It was pretty crazy. But I think it's what you sort of have to do, isn't it? Because you don't want to just be sort of caught out with that extra pit stop, and it just sort of makes sense to get that free pit stop.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess the guys that started on softs, I guess that's why they didn't come in. But it definitely provided a good dynamic. I know Victor, when he was behind the safety car, Odens, was getting really close to it a few times. And then I believe it was Farth got disqualified. Are you able to shed any light? Was it because he overtook the safety car as he came into the pits?
I don't know. I think maybe I really don't know. I don't think what this disqualification was legit. That's what I know for sure. I'm not too sure what happened.
Another thing we know for sure is Chris on the restart found out that behind the safety car how important it is to make sure your tires and brakes are up to temperature. Hits the back of White Fountain and then catches Nick Thompson. What was interesting about this one, obviously a former champion returning to the game, but when I was watching it, as Nick was sideways in front of his car, Chris didn't appear to kind of lift off the throttle too much, which kind of took me by surprise.
Who?
Chris
All
into
right, you said
turn.
Christian. I was like, what?
No, sorry, Chris. Yeah, as the Toro Rosso was sideways in front of him, you could still see his acceleration. So I'm not sure what he was trying to do. It's in the steward's office. Odems, what do you make of it? Just a plain old mistake.
I would say it's a mistake, but I'd still, if it were me, I still do think that's a penalty for Chris, because Chris was saying that Nick was moving him to the left so he couldn't see his racing line, which is why he outbroke himself. But I don't really think that's an excuse, is it? You really should watch out for your braking zone. You really should know where you should brake. And he hit White Fountain, and because of that, Nick Thompson found himself out of the race. So I do think Chris was at fault there, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was like malicious or anything.
There was I really enjoyed. I watched this whole stream back. Shout out to how good Kieran and Luke's commentary was, but also the drivers. The amount of double overtakes that were in this race, Odems. I think White Fountain did it twice. Westy did
Yeah.
it again for the second week in a row. Jorit did it with his teammate, kind of selling the dummy. I think it was on Scani, the Force India. Just some sublime moves from these drivers, and I think that just comes down to they are so evenly matched, and just all the way through the race, you just got overtakes and defenses and different interesting battles on strategy. Fantastic race.
Yeah, it was as you said, everyone's just so bunched up that there's fights for position everywhere you look, and this does lead to a lot of incidents because do believe there's like a good few in the steward's office, but yeah, just a crazy race watching. I can't speak. Watching everybody just fight for position so aggressively, and that safety car also didn't help that case, bunching up the pack again, putting everyone on fresh tires. Yeah, it was hectic for sure.
Couple of weird incidents. Lukey had the incident where he retired. White Fountain's car just stopped on track. Another
Yeah.
game issue, do we think?
Oh yeah, that's a glitch. That's a pretty fairly well-known glitch where a car just decides nope and just stops without any sort of deceleration. Just stops in the middle of the track. How White Fountain still managed to recover to second is extremely impressive
He
because
did
that
say it
is
was one
usually a
of his
very crippling.
best races, didn't he?
Yeah, because that's a very crippling glitch to have. And unfortunately for Lukey, he was caught up in it.
There's two races that Lukey's been through no fault of his own. Had damage to his car. This time, obviously, it was terminal, but he does have the pace to definitely win a race in this tier.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a lot like the podium tier in season 11, where it just there's a lot of people who could have won a race at any given moment. Um, Obviously, four less races for that to be proved, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of race winners, a lot of race contenders for sure.
Alrighty, so Westy went on to take the win. He will now become the championship leader. He also went race premium last night. So big thanks to him for doing that. White Fountain, another race premium driver, he finished in second place. We always knew this about White Fountain, though, didn't we, Odins, that he'd be up there every week. And Jor on the podium, good to see him on the podium. Again, another race premium driver, so it's a full gold top three. But good performance from Jaw, 11th on the grid to 3rd. Also Nika behind came from 12th on the grid to 4th, and then Scorpion from 14th on the grid to 5th.
Yeah, a lot of nice drive backs throughout the field, and as you're saying about White Fountain, we do know that he does obviously have it in him. Lawrence, I believe, had another DNF, didn't he? Another mistake. Did he? I think he did.
No, Lawrence finished 6th. He did cross the line, I
Oh yeah, he
believe,
finished
4th,
sixth.
but he dropped down on
Okay, yeah.
penalties. But I guess he moved up from his grid slot. But you have to say he did have good pace there, but the penalties cost him a little bit. So he finished in
Yeah.
6th. Scanny had a entertaining race, just battles all the way through. He was just always involved in a side by side with someone. Jorit, who won last time out, finished in 8th, so he had a bit of he got damaged twice, I believe, was involved in 2 incidents. Nick Thompson in 9th and TK in 10th position. Victor, who was up there for quite a while, unfortunately finished in 11th, but he was having a good race and being the widest Haas for his teammate who went on to win.
Mm. Yeah. Victor Haas in the Haas. It's quite a nice balance.
It definitely is. Alrighty, speaking of balance, Mali went on to take pole position. So his first pole position, I believe, with no assists. Another close battle on the qualifying. A couple
Are
of
we sure
attempts
he
could have
used no
moved you.
assists though?
We're pretty sure. We're pretty sure.
I mean, do
Um,
we have proof that he did? I don't think he did. I bet he turned the racing line back on.
we don't have proof, but he's meant to be recording his races if we feel we need it. Well, the race didn't go his way. Anyway, he obviously
Right.
spun a couple times afterwards. But he did take pole position. Dane Starr, who moved down from the prestige tier in 3rd. We always said there would be that overlap, Odems, between the bottom half of the prestige tier, top half of the pinnacle tier, which is why he slotted in nicely.
hmm He was right at the top there. He was right in the thick of this, and yeah, it was a seamless transition for Dane Star. I think he'll feel more at home in this Pinnacle tier as long as he stops crashing into people.
Yeah, there is an incident between himself and Malloy. In the steward's office. Reminder to everyone, the steward's office is open until midnight tonight, and then our stewards will be hard at work over the next day and a half, deciding on the results from any incidents. But Dark Bolt, surprisingly, he wasn't put up for drive of the day by the commentators, but fantastic race for him. Definitely had I'd say the quickest race pace out of the field.
Yeah, I was in a party with him actually, and yeah, he definitely had the best pace. He was solid today, wasn't he? He really. I didn't think he was gonna do so well in this tier, if I'm honest, Darkbolt. But he's really shown he's a very quick driver, and yeah, I'm very impressed with him.
I
So
didn't
that's why
know
I was
it,
in the
and
party with him. I don't know either.
I didn't know anything about Dark Bolt before the season, but during the tier announcements, I was obviously myself and Jamie just picked some championship, people who are gonna go for it, and I just picked Dark Bolt. But I'm glad that he's shown that my choice was well picked. But yeah, 24, 25 points Good race for him. Sculptfielder again up on that podium, jumped up there on penalties through not having penalties, I should say. But another good result for him. Could we see himself as a championship contender? I believe he'll be leading after the standings are updated.
Yeah, I believe he will be, and I did say this to him. I was thinking, you could possibly challenge for this Pinnacle Tier championship, and we've seen this in the Prestige, haven't we? He's so consistent. He just plucks away. He gets those. He was getting those points in an alien tier, and now he's in a tier more suited to his speed. Do not be surprised to see him just be a mainstay in those podium positions. Um, yeah, I expect Schofield to do very well.
Kian back on the podium in quite a while, but an impressive result for him, up in third position.
Yeah, Kane did very good. He was practicing hard for this race, as he can only show up every 2 weeks, every other race, I believe. And yeah, it's nice to see him back up to speed, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I was in a party with him, and he was definitely enjoying it. So, the season 10 champion looking to find form. Danestar in fourth position, CXY in fifth, Glock in sixth,
Also
James
throwback.
Slater, yeah, James Slater in seventh position. He jumped ahead on penalties. Myself in eighth. Lawmans, who got damage, had to have a recovery drive, but I do think the two-stop aided him still getting some points on Friday, Odems, and then Jonas in 10th position. That is the top 10 for the Pinnacle Tier. So again, qualifying was close. The race was close as well. So you've got all 10 drivers finishing within 25 seconds of each other. So that's always good to see. On to the Prestige Tier. Odems, have you found out why your internet was playing havoc?
No, I think it's just I'm just generally speaking not allowed to have nice things. So when my internet saw that I was doing well, it just thought absolutely not, and it turned off and on and off and on and again and off and off and off, and it's been fine now. Ever since that race ended, actually, coincidentally. So yeah, I'll get over it eventually.
Eventually. Francis,
Eventually.
he's another driver that needs to get over. He's just rapid around this track on one lap pace. But in the race, did you see what happened? We didn't catch. Don't think they catched it on the stream. Do
No,
we know what
all I
happened?
know, yeah, all I know was that it was him, Blizzard, and Onyx. I do believe the incident was desync. I think there was a bit of argy bargy, and then accidentally, either Blizzard accidentally desynced Fran, or Blizzard accidentally kind of shoved Onyx Mur into Fran, which desynced him. All I know is that it was desynced involved, and Fran had a bit of a fit to start with, but he's calmed down again, kind of like me. So yeah, I predicted him to win this race and to get pole, but he was only able to do one of those things. He definitely does have pace around here, but just wasn't to be.
Rafa, he likes that second position, doesn't he? Out-qualified Blizzard. Jake checks in fourth position. If we go down the order again, this tier Odem's extremely close. Ollie in ninth position. Sam, you in 14th position. Obviously, both drivers were a couple that were offered to move down when we were moving Jesse up. Both said no, and rightly so.
Yeah, they showed decentish pace, especially in Ollie's case. I believe he finished sixth in the end. So Ollie for sure, I think will do well in this tier.
And if we head to the finish, we can see that it was extremely close. Odems, for some reason, I can't seem to find the results screen on the stream, which is a little bit strange. Don't know whether you can see it.
Mm.
Nope, it's just playing the background. All right, we'll have to look into that. As they cross the line, we can see that Jake checks just one Odems. Obviously, Rafa got speeding in the pits. They were battling all race long.
Yeah.
How much will he regret that 5-second stop go he had to serve on his second stop?
I imagine he regretted it a lot, especially since he got called into the into the driver's press conference about his inability to win a race. I doubt that is gonna help him, especially throwing it away like that.
Good to see Jacek's new to league taking the first win, the second win, sorry, his first win at One Hub Racing, and championship again. It's definitely going to be between 5 or 6 drivers this season.
Yeah, for sure. Blizzard did not have the cleanest of races, and he fought back very well to take fourth place. But yeah, it's gonna be about who just keeps their mettle as much as who's the quickest. And luck is gonna play a huge factor as well, I believe.
TDG Jack, good recovery from down the bottom of the grid to score a podium. He's up for the Driver of the Day nomination. As you mentioned, Blizzard, he really had to work for that fourth place there. Poe in 5th position. This is Wayne in 6th. Sam, had he not had those disconnections, I don't know if you got a chance to watch all of the stream back, but he was having a really good race, Odems, and definitely had some perhaps potential race pace to finish on that podium.
Yeah, he showed very good pace, and I believe he told me that if he didn't have those internet issues, he would have benefited from me having internet issues and possibly gotten that podium, but it wasn't to be for him.
Sam, you finished in the points in 9th, and Lakitu rounded out the top 10. Odems, you finished in 11th position. Did you just give up in the end?
I mean, I don't want to say I gave up, but after disconnecting from third, then from fourth, then from sixth, there comes a point where your mental health needs to be taken into equation. So, if you want to say I gave up, yes, I gave up, but I don't think I can be blamed.
Alrighty, so that is round 2 done and dusted. We had a great turnout, as I said, on Friday. We are sponsored by Next Level Racing, so make sure you check them out. You can find a discount code on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We tweeted it out on Friday night, so if you want to check that out. Odems, standings haven't been updated, but if we look at the Drivers' Championship, we believe that Aaron's going to be leading the Podium Tier Championship. Westy looks like he's going to be leading the Precision Tier Championship. Scott Feeler will be leading the Pinnacle Tier Championship. And Rafa will be leading the Prestige Tier Championship. But Odems, as we've seen already, 2 second places, I believe, will
So 36. Blizzard got 12, so he'd be on 37.
37, so my apologies. Blizzard leads by 1 point. But it shows even more so, Odems, that we usually say that seasons at One Hub Racing are more like a marathon. This season appears like it's going to be like a sprint.
Yeah, it's just very pivotal that you get those points on the board, and there's no room for error. Like if you finish 7th, that should be considered your bad race, because you really need to get as many points as you possibly can for to win the championship in this season. It's very closely packed in all the tiers.
Alrighty, so round 3 next week in Bahrain. Fantastic circuit for overtaking. No rain, hopefully in that one. I know in the Podium Tier there's been rain in both races, so drivers are hoping for a dry race, which I expect they shall receive on Friday. But no time like the present, guys. Get practicing for that one. As we said, 25% done of the season already. And looking forward to what was a classic in Season 12 on this game, Odems, Bahrain. 2-stop as well, so be interesting to see what drivers make of that strategy.
I agree. Bahrain obviously is objectively the best track on the calendar, on the One Hub calendar and the official F1 calendar. I asked in the post-race interviews, what the drivers' favorite tracks were, and there was an overwhelming amount of people saying, not favorite tracks. I asked if they were looking forward to Bahrain, and there was an overwhelming amount of people saying that, of course, they were looking forward to the GOAT track that is Bahrain. So next week, especially with the 2-stop mandatory, feature. I think it'll be a good one. And no rain, which is always nice.
I did also see that in some of the driver's answers underneath it said this reply was edited by VSR Odems with a time.
Don't worry about it. I
So
think that's
no,
just one of
nothing
the.
to comment on that
No,
at
I
all.
think that was
I know White
just one of the
Fountain's definitely
glitches.
edited.
You know.
Blame Codemasters, yeah.
No, I think it's definitely another one of those Codemasters glitches. It's just so prevalent in not only the game, but in real life as well. It's it happens. But yeah, I do think that everyone is looking forward to Bahrain, and anybody who isn't just doesn't exist really.
Alright, well there you have it. Can you give us a little indication who you're thinking might feature in the drivers' press conference next week?
Well, I always wanted to be a driver who I can insult, which is everyone, but I want it to be a driver who, has something to prove. That always helps. So also Sam gets to pick for prestige tier because I promised him he could. So that one's up to him. But I have an idea who I'm going to pick.
Awesome stuff. I'll see you in there then, yeah? See you on
Yep.
Thursday.
See
Alrighty,
you.
well, we will leave it there. And thank you everyone for watching. Who got overtake for the week in Brazil? It went to Westy. His double overtake around turn 6, I believe. Odems was it? He nicked down the inside, which was a fantastic move. And I have a feeling that the overtake of the week could go to the precision tier again, with a few drivers submitting a double overtake. So the stewards will be deciding that one. Next week. If you haven't already, make sure you submit your overtakes on the forum. New feature we've got this season, Odems, which is just a little bit of fun, but it's definitely entertaining to watch these drivers submit their overtakes and just watch it from their view.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice little feature, and it encourages. I want to say encourages dive bombs, but it encourages a lot of exuberant moves and clean ones too.
Alrighty, well there we have it. We will leave it there. Thank you everyone for joining us, and best of luck next week in Bahrain. We will be back next Sunday for the late night talk show, and of course on Friday we'll be live at 6:30, 7:30, and 8:30 and 9:30 for all 4 of our tiers. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This is the Late Night Talk Show with myself and Odems in the box every Sunday. Thank you for joining us, and have a good week.